The season of life where I was most focused and hyper-fixated on trying to fix my body and the symptoms I was experiencing was actually the season of life that felt the most out of control. If you feel like your body is the thing standing between you and the life that you actually want, this episode is very much for you. Today, I want to talk to you about why your body might not actually be the problem, even if it very much feels like it is the problem. When I think back to seasons of my life where I was the most focused and fixated on physical measures or trying to fix things physically, like becoming more lean, becoming stronger, losing weight, fixing my skin, growing better hair, whatever it was, it definitely ebbs and flows in seasons of my life. And one of those seasons was right after I'd graduated from college. The last couple years of college were pretty challenging for me. And then I landed my first job right out of school, which was an engineering role in the oil and gas industry. And I thought this was the job that was going to make me feel successful and good. So I took this job. It was kind of the first job that came my way that would afford me financially the life that I wanted. Maybe not immediately, right? But eventually it would pay off and I would get paid really well for the work that I was doing. I would be able to support myself and not rely on anybody else, which was really important to me. So I started this new job. I moved out of Montana to Denver. I was living with some family, and I started this job that required a pretty crazy schedule in hindsight. We worked 2 weeks on, 1 week off, and you switched between days and nights every hitch, and you typically worked between like 12 and 16 hours probably, and typically on the longer side. And so I was experiencing all of this change at one time. And this schedule started to really do a number on my body. I started to struggle with a lot of hormonal disruption. My hair was thinning and falling out. Even when I was supposed to be sleeping, I couldn't sleep. I would find myself waking up after I'd slept for 2 hours. I was gaining a lot of weight. I was struggling with a lot of inflammation and severe cystic acne and this brain fog that really kept me from doing a lot of things because I felt like I could hardly hold a conversation with people and articulate a full sentence because I felt so exhausted, which sounds like the most silly thing ever. But if you've struggled with this, you'll know what I'm talking about, where it's just this brain fog that you can hardly describe. This hormonal disruption was really rough, and I was struggling with a lot of gut issues. I felt like I was sensitive to everything that I ate. My body couldn't tolerate any sort of food, but it was really confusing exactly what foods. It was just kind of felt like anything. So I decided that I was going to double down on self-care. And I was really diligent with my skincare and finding cleaner products that were non-toxic but also non-pore clogging, just trying to figure out what my skin needed. I was doubling down on macros and counting calories, doubling down on how I was moving my body. I was always going to the gym before or after I went to work. I was focusing on having the perfect diet, the perfect exercise routine, focusing on trying to fix my gut symptoms and all of the digestive issues that I was struggling with. I was trying to fix my hormone symptoms by taking all of these supplements that were supposed to help. I was trying to control my body in this season of life because it felt out of control, but quite honestly, every area of my life felt out of control. And I thought if I could just focus on my body and fix my body, everything else would fall into place. My body became the project because my life as a whole felt very unmanageable. It felt like there were so many things out of my control. And so I just wanted to focus on my body because that was the one thing I felt like I could manage. I could change what I was doing, and I would therefore get a result out. It would be very easy, very linear. What was revealed to me later was that it was never actually about my body. When my life felt like it was imploding around me and I just wanted to control the one thing I thought that I could control, it was actually about all of this misalignment in other areas of my life. This misalignment really was coming from being in a job that I realized at that time I didn't actually want. I was chasing somebody else's version of success that was supposed to make me safe and give me the life that I thought I wanted. But that actually required me to really shut down any sort of intuition or desires or things that I wanted. It was all about fitting into this little box that was going to make me successful in the corporate world as an engineer. And so whatever authenticity or personal desires I had really needed to go to the wayside. Whatever character traits I had that weren't going to make me successful there needed to change. I needed to fix those things to fit into this box that was going to make me successful in corporate America. I was chasing money because I thought that that would give me the life that I wanted, that felt the way that I wanted it to feel. When I later learned that I don't necessarily need work to be my passion project, but I do want to be doing something that lights me up, that is what I care about and is kind of my own. It's what I want to be doing. It's not what somebody else wants me to do. There was a lot of self-abandonment underneath that fixation on my body. A lot of abandoning what I actually wanted, abandoning what desires I had, what thoughts that I was thinking. You know, I remember being in meetings and having ideas or thoughts about the way that things were operating or functioning, and talking myself out of them actively or convincing myself otherwise because it would ruffle feathers, or maybe this isn't the way you're supposed to think here. And so maybe you just need to be more like them so that you can be successful here. It was a lot of saying yes to things that I didn't really want to do, that didn't feel good to me to do. And there's always things in life that we have to do that we don't necessarily want to do, right? But it's when we're saying yes to other things to please other people and to make other people feel happy and comfortable. That's what I was doing. And I was really ignoring what I wanted. And I had gotten in such a habit of that I didn't really think I knew what I wanted. I had no idea what I wanted out of my career. I didn't know what I liked, what I didn't like, or I at least had convinced myself of that, right? Because I had built up such a habit of abandoning myself. When I was hyper-focused on my body being the problem, there was this layer underneath all of that that was a lot of self-abandonment and feeling like I was unable to set boundaries. I couldn't ask for what I needed. I was really stuck in this cycle of people pleasing and doing everything for everyone else because I thought it would make me feel validated. It would help me fit into this box that I needed to be in to be successful in corporate America, to be loved by people around me, to eventually find the partner that was going to love me. I just needed to please all of these other people and be this version that they wanted me to be. There was a lot of abandonment in communication. I didn't trust that whatever I was thinking could be valid or true. So I couldn't articulate what I actually wanted or what I was actually thinking. There was always this communication to try to please other people. I was reading body language a lot to try to say what somebody wanted me to say. There was a lot of saying yes to things that I actually really wanted to say no to. And there's very much things in life, things in our jobs, in our relationships that we have to do that we don't always want to do. But then I think there's this bucket of things that we find ourselves saying yes to, even though we really don't want to do them. It builds resentment. We're abandoning ourselves, which is what I said was underneath this fixation. And we're saying yes to all of this stuff that we think we're supposed to be saying yes to. For whatever reason, it can be different for everybody. And I was really ignoring what I wanted. I really built up this practice of saying yes to everything. And what that really meant was saying no to what I wanted. I had built up this practice of denying desires that I had and things that I actually wanted to please other people because I thought that was going to make me successful, to get good grades, whatever it was. And so I had denied myself of my own thoughts and desires for so long that I felt lost and confused about what I did want. And I didn't trust my desires. I didn't trust my intuition and the thoughts that I was having. So if I was feeling frustrated in my job or in my career, I just felt like I was supposed to be able to do what everybody else was doing and just be happy. I thought that I was supposed to just be able to fit into this box and be happy. I thought I should just be happy because I had this awesome opportunity. I thought, oh, you just think the grass is going to be greener on the other side. Just all of this trying to convince myself that whatever I was thinking or feeling could not possibly be valid, right? There was also this emotional component that was underneath this fixation on my body. I was trying to convince myself that I should just be happy where I'm at, like I was saying. I should just be happy where I'm at. I should be thankful for this opportunity. I should be thankful for this salary. I should be thankful that I get to live here. I should just be what I'm not. I should just try to fit into this box. And I should not be stuck in this mindset that the grass is always going to be greener on the other side, because when you jump over there, you find out your problems just follow you. These were the thoughts that I was having. And while some of those things are valuable, and it was really important to me to show up and try to change things that I could change and be proud of how I showed up, at some point, I really had to learn that these things that I was thinking, these values that I had, could be true for me and not true for somebody else. And that was okay. I was very disconnected from my own internal signals of what I wanted, what I believed was good and true, what my values were, what my priorities were. I was very disconnected from these things. And in turn, I focused on my body because I thought if I could just fix my body, if I could just lose weight, be lean, fix my skin, all of these other areas of my life would feel so much better. And when you hear someone saying that, you're like, duh. They're like, if you try to fix your body, it's not gonna fix those other things. There's all these other problems. But when we're in it, it's so easy to hyper-fixate on our body being the problem. When so many things in our life feel out of control, we tend to focus on our body as the problem. And we think that if we could just fix our body, fix this thing about our body, all of these other things in our life would feel better. There's literally things imploding around us. All of this stuff that seems so obvious to people from the outside, but on the inside, we're like, if I could just fix my body, if I could be leaner, if I could have better skin, if I could be skinnier, if I could have better digestion, all of these things in my life would resolve themselves. I thought at the time when I was really fixated on my body that I could just use discipline to fix all of these things, and that discipline was the problem. And I just didn't have the right discipline or enough discipline and the right recipe to get me to where I wanted. I didn't have the right skincare products. I could figure it out maybe, but I just need to figure out the right ones and the right macros, because there was something wrong with what the stuff I was putting inside me or on my body. But what I was actually doing was overriding my nervous system. I was training and going to the gym for a hard workout after I had just worked a 15-hour shift, was running on 5 hours of sleep, and had to be up at 1:30 the next morning to go to work. But I was still going to go to the gym because that was going to help me lose weight. I was sleeping 5 hours a night, but oftentimes waking up in the middle of the night to get called in, or because I couldn't sleep through the night anymore. I was switching between days and nights, which was really hard on my system. I was running on stress constantly, whether it was real stress or stress that I had kind of made up for myself because I was so worked up about my body and things that were happening. And I was calling all of this work I was doing consistency. I was just trying to show up for foundational things consistently, and that would fix it. And I believed that somebody else had some intel about my body, about what was going on, that was going to finally set me free and help all of these symptoms go away. But what I was really doing was trying to force my body into submission. I was doing everything out of fear, trying to fix my body as though that was the problem in my life. But I learned that trying to force my body into submission was a lot different than actually supporting it and learning how to do things because I love my body, do things to support my health, do things out of abundance and trying to create health and vibrancy in my life. That's much different than doing things out of fear. And I learned that my body was not working against me. It was working for me. My body was not failing me. It was sending me these messages and these signals that I just didn't know how to interpret yet. I learned that when my body felt like it was resisting the work that I was doing and it was resisting me, it was actually sending me some signals that maybe needed to be listened to and interpreted differently. Not forced into submission, not fixed, not fixated on either. Many of us get stuck thinking, if I could just fix my body, everything in my life would feel better. Everything would finally fall into place. But sometimes what's actually happening underneath this fixation on our body and trying to be leaner, trying to fix these things about our body that we think are broken, is actually a sense of feeling unfulfilled in our lives. Maybe we are in a career that just does not light us up. Maybe we don't have anything in our life that makes us feel truly fulfilled. Sometimes this hyperfixation on our body is actually because we feel resentful. We've spent so much time serving other people, making sure other people's needs are met. We've built up this habit of neglecting what we need to serve these other people. And now we've done it for so long that our general needs are no longer being met. And so we feel resentful every time we do something for somebody else because we're not even meeting our own needs. Sometimes what's underneath this fixation is feeling unseen by people we love, by our career. Maybe we feel like in our relationship, we no longer are valued for what we bring to the table. Maybe we feel like they don't see us for who we are, or that, we're doing all of this stuff for these people and they don't even appreciate it. Maybe we feel like we're being overlooked in our job, in our friendships, and not actually appreciated, and that we don't actually bring value to people's lives. Maybe underneath this fixation is really you're feeling stuck. You're feeling stuck in your career. You've built this career that you thought you wanted, and at one point it felt really good, but in this new season of life, it's not working for you anymore. And sometimes when we start to feel stuck, it feels like there's no other options. Your blinders go up and it's hard to see anything else. And so when you feel stuck, your life feels out of your control, and you hyperfixate on your body as though that's the problem. Maybe underneath this feeling stuck is feeling very disconnected from yourself. You've quieted those internal signals for so long that you don't trust your intuition anymore. You don't trust your desires, what you want for your life, any sort of creativity. All of that stuff has gone to the wayside. And so you've built up this muscle or this habit of abandoning yourself. And so if you could just control something in your life, that would get better. Sometimes it's feeling completely disconnected from what actually lights you up in your life. Some of us get so focused on our relationships and our health and our career that we don't spend time doing things we actually enjoy, what actually lights us up, which then leads to more disconnection with ourselves. And so if we can just focus on our body and fix that, our life will feel better and we'll be able to go do those things we actually want to do with our time. So there can be all of these things going on underneath our fixation on our body. But our body just becomes the target because it feels like it's the only thing that we can control. It feels like it's the easiest thing to control, right? It's a lot harder to go work on those other things. We have to confront parts of ourselves that feel scary. We have to lean into discomfort. So it's much easier to just focus on our body as the problem. It's also made to be much more socially acceptable to constantly be focusing on our body as the problem. You need to be smaller, you need to be thinner, you need to be leaner, you need to be more muscular, you need to fit in this size pant. Whatever it is, right? We're kind of socially conditioned to focus on our body as the problem. I mean, if you scroll on Instagram for 30 seconds, you're being sold all of these things that you need to change about yourself and your body. So it makes a lot of sense that that's where we think the problem lies. It's also much more measurable to focus on our body as the problem. We can focus on the scale. We can focus on our body fat percentage. We can focus on our pant size. We can focus on what our skin looks like. It's much easier to quantify these things and see if you're making progress. So it makes sense that you want to focus on your body as the problem. It also feels a lot more controllable. It feels like you're the only thing you have to control in this situation, and your body will respond if you control it correctly. It feels a lot safer to fight your body and focus on fixing your body than it does to actually change your life. I'm not saying to not focus on improving your health. I think health is an amazing entry point to improving our life and achieving deep health, which is fulfillment in other areas of your life outside of your physical body and your physical being. But what I am saying is check why you're doing it. Check if there's something else underneath all of that that actually needs addressed when we're fixating on our body. When we're taking action to fix our body out of fear, our mind perceives this fear and moves our body into fight or flight for extended periods of time. Oftentimes we kind of get stuck here because there's all of these fear signals coming in. And so it starts to shut down things. Our body starts to shut down things that it does not deem necessary to sustain life. And so then you can imagine if you're trying to restrict calories and lose weight, well, your body is stuck in fight or flight. It's probably not going to lose weight, right? It's trying to hang on to as much weight as it can for survival. Why we do anything matters more than what we're doing. When we take action out of care for ourselves, out of love for our body, from a nourishing perspective, it actually creates change in our life. We can finally see our body respond because we're doing things that create the sense of safety in our body. It keeps our nervous system oscillating how it's meant to oscillate, which allows our body to naturally lose weight, our skin to clear up, all of these things, right? When we can engage in these behaviors from a different mindset that's not focused on fear, that's when we can actually see change in our life and in our physical being as well. I want to offer you this idea that your body is actually not the obstacle. It's the messenger just trying to deliver information to you. And when you're feeling these feelings of resentment come up, when you're feeling anxious, it might not be your body that's the problem. It might be something else going on in your life that needs addressed. Perhaps your body is not actually the enemy. Perhaps it's sending you signals and it's working for you, not against you. We just need to learn how to interpret these signals differently and extend our body love and not focus on it as the problem that needs fixed, but rather listen to the signals that it's sending us and what else it might mean for our life. I also want to offer you that sometimes as we lean into these extreme measures to fix our body, we can kind of create more harm than good. Leaning into the foundations of wellness and making health really simple is so, so powerful. But just like any tool, it can be misused. And then when you start stacking on all of these complicated measures and biohacks, it makes things even more complicated for you and makes you feel like you only have bandwidth to take care of your health. But it truly does not need to be that complicated. When we find ourselves hyper-fixating on our body as the problem, it can be really helpful to think about it as kind of a meditation practice where we're like, oh, there it is again. I'm hyper-fixating on my body as the problem. Maybe I need to explore what else might be possible here and ask myself some questions to uncover maybe what this is actually about. And then maybe you move along and things, you start to focus on other things in your life, and then you find yourself hyper-fixating on your body again. And so you know it's time to question and you just bring it back. I love to use this meditation analogy because I think it helps us extend a lot of grace to ourselves. And so some of these reframing questions that can be really helpful are, what do I believe fixing my body will give me? If I can just be leaner, if I can just fix my skin, if I can just not have back pain, what will that give me on the other side? For myself, if I thought I could just fix my skin, if I could just not have acne, if I could just lose 20 pounds, I would feel confident to go make friends. I would finally spend my time doing the things I wanted to do. I would finally have the job that I wanted, or be able to get the job that I wanted. Or maybe I would just like the job that I had if I fixed my body. Maybe you ask yourself, what am I hoping changes if my body changes? Maybe you're hoping that your husband speaks to you more kindly. Maybe you're hoping you speak to yourself more kindly. Maybe you're hoping that you finally have the confidence to pursue a new position that you really like. or show up in relationships with your friends in the way that actually feels good. Maybe you're hoping you'll finally go do some of those things that light you up and get into some of those activities that you're excited to do or hobbies that you're excited to try. Maybe you're hoping that you'd put yourself out there more so you could meet a significant other. When I get stuck in this cycle of trying to fix my body, I like to sit back and ask myself, how has this worked for me in the past? When I've hyper-fixated on my body and made my body the problem, has that served me? Where did that get me? Typically the answer is it has not served me and it didn't help me. Sometimes there are things that we really focus in on and be disciplined around, and we see the results that we want. But when I'm in the mindset of fixing my body, typically that doesn't serve me well. And typically there's something else going on underneath there. So another question you might ask is, what else is possible here? What might actually be underneath this? What other area of my life do I feel unfulfilled in, or where is there a lot of friction and turbulence that I might be making about my body? I like to ask, am I acting out of fear or abundance in my life? Am I trying to fix my body out of fear of what people think, out of fear of not being enough? Or am I honoring my health so that I can show up for my life in the way that I want to, and show up for people that I love in the way that I want to, show up for my work in the way that I want to? Sometimes it can be really helpful to ask, when I'm trying to control my body, what else in my life feels out of control? And it just kind of gives you some things that might be underneath this desire to fixate and fix your body and make health really complicated. If you're struggling to show up for the foundational areas that improve your health, and you feel like you need to hyperfixate on your body, fix that as the problem, really make health complicated in order to get your body to respond, there might be something else going on here. Maybe we're really struggling with consistency. We're buffering. We're people-pleasing. We're self-abandoning. Maybe there's something else going on here that's making showing up for the foundational areas of health and simplifying these measures a lot more complicated than they need to be. I invite you to get really curious and observe your behaviors without judgment. You can use the phrase like, isn't it interesting that when life gets really hectic, I start to hyperfixate on my body and trying to fix it and be leaner. I invite you to look at the foundational areas of health with compassion and ask yourself, am I showing up to move my body, to drink water, to eat nutrient-dense foods, to connect with people, to manage my stress consistently? Am I making health a lot more complicated than it needs to be? I invite you to look at your resistance with honesty. Where are you feeling resistance in your life? What is feeling hard? What are you avoiding? And just try to look at that and ask yourselves, is this something I need to look into a little bit deeper? What else might be going on here? What else might be possible here? I invite you to look at your whole life and not just hyperfixate on your body as the problem and the gateway to having the life that you want. And I want to remind you that you don't have to untangle all of this on your own. Most of us have spent a lifetime of building up these habits and these thoughts and this way of operating, and starting to dismantle that and untangle that can feel disorienting and confusing, but you don't have to do it alone. A lot of times when we do it in communities or with coaches, a lot of times it helps us navigate it to a different depth and a lot more quickly. It's also so helpful to feel supported in this process.